Dawn is fat and sad. You're gonna marry my son. You're gonna do it right now. Divorced couple. Secretly dating each other's exes. As you can tell, she's had some plastic surgery. Maybe closer to death than she realizes. Praise Jesus! Be honest with me. Have you ever seen a scorpion plushie? Honesty time. Have you ever seen a scorpion plushie? He was in the Valentine's Day section. Valentine's Day? Happy Valentine's Day. I got you a scorpion. Look how derpy he is. Derpiest little guy. I love him. You sit there and keep me company. Hello, today, if you're wondering, I promise. I have my hands up. I promise. I will go back to the Everything Happens series. It's gonna happen, because I love that series. I just needed a break from Sims, and now I'm getting back into Sims. But before I get back into that particular series, I want to show you what I've been doing on my personal save file, because I want to document it, and because recently I've watched a lot of Sims 2's Pleasant View rotational after 15, 20, 100 years tours, and I wanted to do that with this one because it's at a point I'm at like Generation 2, where Generation 2 is just starting to become adults and have their own stories, and Generation 1 is about to start dying off, so everything kind of makes sense, but then it also doesn't at the same time, and I wanted to document it in this portion because I really am very emotionally invested in this save, and I really love all the Sims that I have here, and I enjoy progress. I enjoy letting my Sims get older and dying off, but I want to document where they are right now in this particular time. So my idea behind this save file was that I wanted a save file where I was playing with the pre-made Sims, because I had never done that before. I had never played very in-depth with the pre-made Sims, but I always enjoy watching people play with the pre-made Sims in Sims 2 Let's Plays, and I don't see a lot of Sims 4 Let's Plays where they play with the base Sims, so I wanted to do that myself. I didn't want to play with all the households. That is too much. But I started with the basic, classic Willow Creek, Oasis Springs households. I started with the Spencer Kim Lewis's, although I stopped playing with them after a few rounds because I kind of thought they were boring. But I had the Goths, the Pancakes, the BFF household, the Landgraabs, Lothario, Caliente, and very recently I bought Sims 4 Cottage Living. And then I decided to add the Watsons into the rotation because I thought they seemed interesting. So here's what the rotation looks like at present. Oh, I also had my own Sim. I put my own Sim in there because I like playing with my own Sim self. Although I haven't actually enjoyed playing with that family very much. You'll notice that the Bjergsens got involved at some point, but we will get to that. First of all, the most important thing, the Goth house. This is the biggest household we have right now. You'll notice there are 9 Sims. You'll also notice Bella Goth is missing. I made her missing again, but Mortimer is still here. He's almost an elder. He's getting to be an elder. Cassandra is moved out, and we will see her in a minute. But Alexander is here as an adult, a young adult. Look at him. He's one of my favorite Sims in this thing. And he's married to Olivia Goth, formerly Olivia Kim Lewis. Look at her. She's been gothified. And look at her traits. Is she not just a cool person? But before Bella disappeared, she and Mortimer had 3 more kids. So we have Belinda Goth, who's still a teenager. Edgar Goth, also still a teenager, and Gunther Goth, who is still a child, and is very pink. He's the black sheep of the family, or the white sheep of the black sheep family. I guess that's starting to sound racist. Let's move on. You'll also notice Elsa Bjergsen lives here as well. I'll explain what she's doing here in a minute, as well as I don't know how to pronounce these names, but Rashida Watson and her daughter Patriska Watson entering the building. Can I say something controversial? I actually very much prefer the original Sims 4 Goth Mansion. I actually really enjoy this building. But Mortimer Goth, who is in his underwear right now, Mortimer still has his job as an author, but he is probably not going to retire very soon, especially because it's part of his thing to have level 3 and 2 careers, so he needs to change his career for that. Mortimer is kind of turning a little bit into a crazy old man. You might think he's getting a reputation for being not the most mentally sound, but recently he got abducted by aliens, and he claims that while he was abducted, he saw Bella, which has been a big clue for Cassandra and Alexander, who are both very much still searching for Bella Goth right now. They're still searching for Bella Goth. It's been a cold case. The police have given up on it, but Bella and Alexander are still trying to figure out what they're doing with it, trying to figure out where Bella is, and I know where she is, and we will talk about that more later. But recently, as Mortimer has gotten a little more crazy, Alexander has sort of taken the role of the man of the house, especially now that he's married to Olivia, and they make a very nice couple. They're a very, very nice couple. But like, this is their bedroom. They've had to make some weird expansions because they got such a big family. So this is used to be Bella and Mortimer's room, but now it's Alexander's and Olivia. The bedroom that used to be Cassandra's is now Gunther and Belinda's, and this bedroom that used to be a bathroom is now where Edgar and Mortimer share a bedroom. And I'll show you the upstairs in just a moment. Elsa, if you're wondering why Elsa's here, Elsa is the live-in maid. She takes care of the cooking and the cleaning. If you remember, as a child, Elsa has the genius trait, which she still does. And there's a lot of tension between her and her sister because people expect her to go very far and be very ambitious. But as Elsa grew up, she actually decided that all of that ambition was not really for her, because she got the perfectly pristine aspiration. And she decided, even though she had all these smarts and could go very far with it, she decided she kind of didn't really want that. She really enjoyed cleaning, and she was very happy to have a simple life cleaning and enjoying the joys of just cleaning. And I don't know why she's chosen to nap here, but her bedroom is up here in this little addition. She just recently moved in, so it's not very decorated. And then in here, which used to be Alexander's room, is where Rashida and her child, Petrushka, live. So what I decided when I was playing, Rashida's mother, Rami, I decided that Rami and Bella Goth were sisters. This became my headcanon. I thought they kind of looked similar. They don't really, actually, when you really look at them, but I thought they kind of looked similar, and it worked for the plot at the time, so I decided Bella and Rami are both sisters, and Bella married this aristocratic man, rich man, and Rami married this farmer man, and they went into two completely different lifestyles, and I really enjoyed that thought. So that is what's happening. So that is the reason Rashida, I never have to pronounce their names when I'm just playing by myself. That's the reason that Rashida lives here with them, because she's their cousin. And she lives here with them because she had a teenage pregnancy with Raul Chopra. She and Raul Chopra had a little thing, and the little thing was Petrushka. And Radish's parents were not happy about it. Himford on Bagley, it's a small community. Word travels fast. Lots of gossip, lots of scandal, very easy to lose a lot of business. So they were like, absolutely, we're not going to allow this to be a scandal. So as soon as they realized that Rashida was pregnant, they were like, no, you are going to go and you're going to live with your cousins. And so that's how she ended up here. They kicked her out. The Goth cousins, they live off in the big Willow Creek area where that won't be as much of a scandal, so they won't mind taking you in, and they didn't, and so now she lives here, and she's looking for her soulmate. In a weird way, she actually kind of got what she wanted, because when she starts out, she actually wants to move away from Himford on Bagley to a bigger place, and so now she kind of has actually gotten that, even though it's a little bit of a weird situation. But she's looking for love, because Raul, she's really not that interested in him. She thinks he's unattractive. He was just kind of the only option for her there. So now that she's out here, she's like, bye Raul, I have bigger fish to fry in the city. Can we just appreciate the makeover I gave Alexander? It looks very good as an adult. Here, change. I I really love the makeovers I've given them. Really enjoy Alexander as one of my favorite Sims. Like, look at him. He is a perfect matriarch of the Goth family right now. That's not what the word matriarch means. But as for the younger Goth siblings, you might notice I kept the naming theme of girls ending in A names and boys ending in names. So we have Belinda, who has just recently had her first kiss, with Jacob Volkov, because he's not an adult yet, because I bought that pack recently. So he hasn't aged as much as everyone else has. But this is Belinda in her teenage years. A party animal, but still a bookworm. I decided all of the Goth family needed the Storm Chaser trait. Yes, it's the first reward trait I buy all of the Goth family. Because the Goth family would not be scared of thunderstorms, please. But her main thing is she's trying to get a romance going with Jacob, because I really enjoy the idea of the Goth family marrying into a werewolf family. So that is... I'm going to try to make that happen. Edgar, I don't have much going on with Edgar, to be honest. But he is here and he is vibing. And he's a very chill person. He's very outgoing. He's going to definitely be a big socialite kind of person. And then there's Gunther. Gunther's thing is that he really likes the color pink in direct contrast to the rest of his family. That's kind of his only thing. He's about to age up into a teen though, so maybe he will get a little bit more interesting with that. And here's Petrushka, very sad. Oh, and here's Olivia, enjoying a nice time by the fire. So I enjoy her gothic makeover very much. I think I did a good job. Oh, here's the wedding arch on the roof. This is where Alexander and Olivia were married. And then you'll also notice there's a telescope. I wonder what that was used for. So on to the next house. On to the next household, Mr. Scorpion. Mr. Scorpion, are you excited? Which household should we show next, Mr. Scorpion? So next we have this little neighborhood, which is the most fleshed out neighborhood I have in the game right now. It's got a little playground. There's also a playground up here, and yes, they are named after Five Nights at Freddy's characters. I was very much a Five Nights at Freddy's kid. So we have this house, which is the house that came with paranormal stuff pack that you can place, the haunted house. That is where my sim and his family lives. It's not that interesting, to be honest. It's just me, and me right now is having a midlife crisis. I decided this. He's married to Candy Behr, who now goes by Candace because she's an adult now. She toned it down a little bit. And Yuki lives here as well. I decided Yuki, she starts out very vibrant with like the colored hair and the colored clothes, but then I looked at her traits and I was like, that doesn't really match. Her physical form doesn't seem to really match her personality that well. And so I decided, since she was a teenager, that she was just trying to keep up with her very outgoing and bright and colorful older sister. And so as she aged into an adult, she got her own sense of style and was more comfortable with her more laid-back self. And we have Harvest and Carson and Norville. I had to name. I'm naming all the babies alphabetically. Right now, we are on baby letter U. This is the way I keep track of things, by the way. In my family's bio, we have the baby letter that we are currently on and the next house. And I just put all the households from each world. I go by world. So these are all the houses in Willow Creek that I haven't played in this round yet. And then I just delete them, and then I'll put all the houses from Oasis Springs. So anyway, we have a little complicated situation with these two households. We have the Bjergsens, and we have the Munch household, which is kind of an extension of the Bjergsen household. So in the Bjergsen household, Elsa is the Goths maid, as we have seen. And Sofia, she has also moved out, and we'll talk about her in a minute. But Bjorn is here, Clara is here, and they had two more kids via story progression before I started playing with them. Jackson and Brayley. And then he also has Franklin, who is only Bjorn's child and not Clara's. And we will discuss this more in a second. So the Bjergsens live in what used to be the cupcakes. The Bjorns weren't The Bjorns, nope, that's wrong. That's his first name. So the Bjergsens live in what used to be I did it again. The Bjergsens live in what used to be the Pancakes household. As you can tell, I started the save file before they did the makeovers. But if you remember, the Bjergsens at the start of the game, they're very rich, they're very successful, they have lots of connections and friends and clubs that they're a part of, and they're just very comfortably living the high life. But all of that ended when Bjorn had a little oopsie with Nancy Landgraab, and thus where Franklin came from. Franklin is actually a twin, but Nancy got the twin brother, so Bjorn tried very hard to get both of them, but he could only get Franklin. So after the little oopsie, Clara was obviously not very happy, and she got really angry, and she made sure everyone knew what Bjorn did, and she was very loud about it and aired all the laundry, and they had a long and ugly divorce. Bjorn tried very hard to patch things up, but she kicked him out of the house, and they eventually divorced. Obviously, they are back together now, and I'm getting to that point in the story. But the whole thing was such a big ordeal. Both Bjorn and Clara lost their jobs, they lost their house, they got kicked out of all their clubs, their friends all cut them off because no one wanted anything to do with them because the whole thing was so ugly. And so they basically lost everything, and Clara and the kids had to live in a very tiny house in Oasis Springs for a long, long time. Bjorn had to get some roommates and live with them for a while. Clara got a job as a freelance writer and struggled her way into helping her family with that, while Bjorn tried to make sense of his life. But Bjorn, while he was off on his own, fought for the custody of Franklin. Both he and Clara both explored other romantic options, but neither of them were very successful in it. And after several years, like maybe about a 10-year span, during which Bjorn basically was in a constant state of having a midlife crisis. And he still kind of is that way, to be honest. And they're fighting. The boys are fighting. The whole mistake was an instant oopsie and regret for him. He did it, but he regretted it immediately, and he was not happy with himself and tried very hard to make it right. But it was very hard to make, but Clara was not having it. So after 10 years of being divorced and being almost completely absent in each other's lives, they both tried their own things with romance, but it wasn't really working out. And after a particularly hard Christmas day, Clara put all the kids to bed, and she went out to the club to try to wind down a little bit, and she ended up running into Bjorn, and they started talking, and they started dating again, and they ended up remarried. And they're still very poor, despite living in this very nice house. There's a situation happening of how they got into this very nice house despite having no money. They shouldn't be able to afford living here, really. And we will get to that in a minute, because that involves showing you a different household. But now they are in couples therapy together. They're in Mercy's counseling, along with Johnny Zest and Zoe Patel, who are married. There's still some toxicity happening in their relationship, but things are really looking up. As for Jackson, I'm kind of planning... Jackson has the unflirty trait. He's unflirty and mean, but he also has a serial romantic trait, and I kind of plan on him being the next Don Lothario, in a way. He's already stolen Franklin's girl that he was interested in. Bray Lee, she's pretty much accepted Franklin. Elsa has accepted Franklin as part of their family. So has Clara. Clara's still not too into it, but she's open to the idea. But Jackson doesn't care for him at all. Jackson is not about it. He hates Franklin. Franklin hates him. Very bad times. Franklin was a child when they all moved in together, and Jackson was still a teenager, so he pretty much bullied Franklin, and they both really dislike each other. But the family right now is as healthy as it's been in years. There's still a lot of underlying tension, but they're in as good a place as they've been in years. As for Sofia was very much damaged by the entire situation, being a teenager at the time. Her mom really went off the rails about the whole thing, which kind of put Sofia in a place where she kind of had to raise all of her younger siblings. She kind of had to become a mom to all her siblings, and she already felt like her dreams were not taken seriously by her family. So after having the whole ordeal happen where she had to take care of all her siblings and she really had to put her music aside for all that, that really jaded her to the whole family, and she kind of switched from being a good girl to being a bad girl, and she started hanging out with the bad club and ended up in a relationship with Wolfgang Munch. And she and Wolfgang ran off and got an apartment together. And she started working hard on her music career like she always wanted to, with Wolfgang kind of going along for the ride and being a deadbeat. And they ended up having 2 kids together. And the first time they had a kid, they were like, neither of them wanted kids. So they were like, ship them off. And they shipped the kid off to the Bjergsen, to her parents. And her parents had to take care of them. And then they had a second kid and shipped them off too. But then Wolfgang was not feeling it. He was like, he kind of regretted that a little bit. And so he wanted to start doing better. And Sofia broke up with him because she didn't want anything to do with it. And they had a big fight about it. But Wolfgang now lives next door to the Bjergsens. And so we have Wolfgang here. He has his and Sofia's 2 children, Josephine Munch and Odette Munch, and he has his brother Gunther living here as well to help take care of the children, although he is not very helpful with the children. He is very, very useless when it comes to the children. Obviously, the Bjergsen family is not the hugest fan of Wolfgang, as they feel a little bit like Wolfgang is the one who ruined their daughters' lives. But Wolfgang has worked hard trying to make it up to them, and he offered them the house that they live in. He bought them that house for them, so that is how they afford to live there, because they're very broke, the Bjergsens. But Wolfgang, he's very wealthy, and wealthy enough to have his own home and feed his own 2 children, and also take care of all of his in-laws. And that's pretty much how he won back custody of his 2 children, he was like, I can afford to get you guys a house, and they couldn't afford to say no to that because they had their own 4 children living with them, plus his 2 babies. And he's a good dad. He's a good dad to them. But he's still not a very good person. He's a good dad, not a very good person. As you can tell, he is in the criminal career, which is how he's gotten all this money. And no one knows that. His brother does not know that. The Bjergsens do not know that. They do not know that they are living in a house that is bought with dirty money. And he actually works for the Landgraabs, for Nancy Landgraab. So in a way, Nancy Landgraab is the one paying for this house, which is a lot if you think about it. But he lives in this really nice house with his 2 kids, and he takes care of them. And it's wholesome until you think about it too hard, but it's wholesome. I mean, he's here, he's taking care of his 2 daughters. His brother is here. His brother is kind of more concerned with his own work life than the children. Like, he moved in to help with the kids, but he's useless with children. In fact, I've been so frustrated with him not taking care of the children while Wolfgang is at work that I've genuinely considered just killing him. It's been frustrating. He's completely useless, Wolfgang actually has a kind of tense relationship with the rest of his family. Like Gunther, he has a decent relationship with, and he has a decent relationship with his mom, but he also has this passive parent moodlet with her. She hasn't been very involved in his life since he's an adult. And Lucas, he is rapidly getting a negative relationship with, so he and his family are kind of drifting apart at a pretty rapid pace. And he's trying real hard to become tight-knit with his new in-law family. I think it matters a lot to him to reestablish himself as a good person. A good person. Sure, a good person. Look at this pig. Its eyes pop out. The last family we have in this little neighborhood is the Austere family. Now, if you don't know, I believe canonically Nancy and Geoffrey Landgraab Austere is Geoffrey's maiden name. Is it a maiden name when it's not a maiden? That's his original last name before he took Nancy's last name. So in the Austere household, we have Geoffrey Austere, along with his wife, Holly Austere, and 3 children, Daphne Austere, Marie Austere, and Quintus Austere. Now, if you know at the start of the game, Geoffrey is kind of a spineless little guy who Nancy drags around all the time. Oh, there's a fire. That's lovely. Where's the fire? This is not the time for this. Geoffrey actually has more children. Here's his family tree. As you know, Geoffrey and Nancy, they had Johnny Zest originally. My headcanon is Johnny Zest is their child, who they dismissed because he wanted to pursue music. And so when they did that, Geoffrey was not happy about it, but he didn't stand up for Johnny either. But then, as time was going on, Geoffrey was getting really fed up with Nancy, and he decided to grow a spine, and he started arguing with her, and she kicked him out, and he was the sad little guy with absolutely nothing, and she divorced him. And before she divorced him, they had Malcolm together already, but right before she divorced him, they had Daphne. So Daphne is Nancy's child, technically, even though she's adopted the name Austere, because Geoffrey is the one who ended up with her. But he got fed up with Nancy, and Nancy kicked him out, and he had a very rough go at it. He actually ended up moving in with Johnny in the trailer, and obviously they had a very bad relationship because he didn't stick up for Johnny when she kicked him out, and so he hated him just as much as he hated Nancy. But as they lived together in the trailer, they started working out together, they worked on their careers together. He has retired now, but he was in the spy career, the good guy spy career, and they got fit, and they got good jobs, and they both ended up with wives. They actually they had a really, really good relationship with Johnny at the end. In fact, I'm going to have him invite Johnny over. So he and Johnny, they were very tight by the time they moved out. They lived in that trailer for a long time, and then they bought a house together for a little while, once they were a little bit more money stable. And then they even had a conjoined wedding day. And this is the wedding arch. Both Johnny and Geoffrey both were here. Johnny and Geoffrey both had jobs when they first moved in with each other. And he ended up with custody of Daphne. It was not very easy to take care of her, so he hired her a nanny, Holly. And Holly was her nanny before the divorce. So Holly was already emotionally attached to Daphne, so she agreed to continue working as Daphne's nanny, even though she wasn't getting paid for it because Geoffrey and Johnny couldn't afford that. But then as time went on, Geoffrey and Holly fell in love, and they got married. And Johnny fell in love. Where's Johnny? Here's Johnny. Johnny is a very successful comedian these days, and he's married to Zoe Patel, who's a very successful scientist, and they live together in the city, and they have 2 children of their own. They didn't think they wanted children, but they ended up with 2 children anyway, and they've reached what I call the happily ever after state. So they're no longer in the rotation, because they're just out in the world enjoying their happy lives together. But Geoffrey's kind of still in that too. There's still some problems happening with this household, but Geoffrey, I'm very proud of how far Geoffrey and Johnny have gone. I mean, look at this, a nice, happy, suburban lifestyle that he's living right now. He's the suburban dad that he has always wanted to be all his life. He's very, very happy and content. There is a little bit of problem because Holly ended up getting abducted by the Caliente sisters, who are aliens in my save. Bella Goth got abducted. Don Lothario also got abducted, and the Caliente sisters had them prisoner and were torturing them and experimenting on them, trying to figure out a male pregnancy. And so that was the story behind why Bella and Dawn both got abducted, is because they were experimenting, trying to create a male pregnancy, and they did for years and years, like 10 years. And for a brief period of time, Holly was also included in that. Not nearly as long as Dawn and Bella were abducted. Holly got abducted and was with them for a little bit of a while. Now, Geoffrey was in the spy career and was pretty high, so he was a professional spy. So when Holly disappeared, He went looking for her, and he ended up saving her, but he couldn't save Bella and Dawn because the Calientes ran off with them and changed locations of where they were experimenting them on, but he did get Holly. But unfortunately, Holly was a little bit traumatized, obviously. And so she has some trauma. They did used to have Olivia, who is now Olivia Goth, before she married Alexander. She lived here with them as a sort of healthcare worker for her. They still probably need that, but Holly has some mental issues that Geoffrey has to help her with a lot, and he can't always leave her alone with the children, so it's a little bit of a problem. Once she sorts out all these fears, everything will be fine, but she will probably never be entirely normal again. So that's a little bit of a stain on his happily ever after, but it's still a very nice happily ever after happening. Now, who's not happy and content is Daphne. Daphne loves Holly, and she loves her dad. Geoffrey has put the Landgraabs behind him. He is happy living his life, but Daphne has not been able to do that quite yet. She has the sticky fingers aspiration, and she still holds a lot of bad feelings towards the Landgraab family. And whenever she has the opportunity, she likes to go over there, and she pretends that she's just having a nice family visit, but she steals from them, and her goal is to steal as much from them as possible while she's a teenager, and one day she wants to do a lot worse thing. But right now, some petty theft is all she can manage, and her dad is not happy with her about this. He doesn't really know about this, but he tries to encourage her as much as possible to just stay out of the Landgraab's business, but she probably isn't going to do that. She's also one of my favorite Sims. Also, her, Alexander, and Axel, who we're going to get to in a minute. Axel Pancake, who actually, she and Axel are best friends. Oh, there's Jackson. Jackson did flirt with her some. Again, he's going to be the Don Lothario of this next generation. But her and Axel are best friends. Haven't decided if I wanted them together yet romantically or not. But she's also best friends with Belinda. Well, she's good friends with Belinda. She and Axel are best friends and have been since childhood. That is very fun. I'm very invested in her and Axel as friends. Speaking of Axel, I think the Pancakes household is actually next. So, moving on from Willow Creek, and we're going to Oasis Springs. Except, actually, we will not be doing that, because even though I had the best of intentions of having this be one long video where I showed the whole save file, my computer said, no, we are not exporting that. So this is going to be in 2, maybe 3 parts. Definitely stick around for the second part, because I'm about to show Pancake/BFF household, which is my favorite household in the thing. But anyway, thank you for watching. Jesus loves you. Goodbye.